welcome back to the Fermented World Homebrew channel. It's been a long time. This was started on the 1st of last month. It's now the 8th of the next month. So this has been in for 1 month and 8 days. But this is still bubbling away. This is the Mead en masse. This is the 23 litres of Mead we brewed just to see whether the yeast could actually manage the amount of volume it says that it could on the pack. So it's a bit daunting to think that it's still fermenting, bubbling away, because it shouldn't be. So what we're going to do today is we're going to open it up, we're going to take a hydrometer reading, and then we're going to see where we're at going forward and what we're going to be doing with this next. It should be 100% fermented out by now, but I've got a feeling that it's not, which means the yeast was unable to do what it was supposed to do. First things first, I'm going to remove this airlock and I'm going to dump that in some sanitizing liquid, just in case it's got to go back on, which it possibly might have to. But yeah, and giving your hands a dip in the sanitizer is never a bad thing anyway. So now the airlock is off, we can crack it open. Oh my god, it looks golden clear, like really clear. And let's just try and flip that over, lay it on its back so that it can't touch anything. Again, just in case we do need to put it back on and, I don't know, maybe pitch some more yeast or something. It's crystal clear, which means to me it's finished fermenting, or at least the yeast has given up. Oh yeah, that's good. That's really good. Just gonna let that settle and I'll get a glass and I shall tell you what it is reading at. It's definitely fermented out for the most part, that's for sure. So it's probably just ticking over like at the bottom there, trying to ferment the tiny last bits of sugar. So this is game on. We're going to be separating this into 5 different gallon batches, because there's approximately 5 gallons in there. We are on 92,468, so 0.998. Yeah, let's give it a taste. It's going to be dry. There might be a small hint of sweetness, but I doubt it. Yeah, extremely dry, but tastes good. The yeast actually managed to ferment 23 litres of must. Wow. I'm actually surprised. I thought we were going to come, because it was still bubbling, I thought it wasn't going to be finished. Right, I'm going to tip that into that glass and I'm going to drink that later on. So we're going to put a beer mat on top of that so that no nasties can come and get it. We are going to replace the lid and the airlock, and I am going to then go and wash and sterilise 5 demijohns, 5 lots of airlock equipment, and then we shall be back. These are going to be divided into, as I say, 5 gallon batches. Each one's going to have a different flavouring. We're just putting the flavours in secondary. We're not bothered to ferment with it. It's more of a, I didn't just want standard mead, I wanted flavoured mead, so that's the reason why I'm adding fruits and yada 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 to these. I've got a couple of ideas of what I want to do with it. Just make sure the lid's back down. That's not going nowhere. So yeah, I'm gonna go wash up some equipment and we're gonna get this racked off into demijohns and add some flavours to it. Back soon. Okay, so after some farting around and realising that I needed to clean a separate bucket out, so One of the old buckets I used to brew in has come out of hibernation or retirement, and obviously I've been using this one to do the bigger batching. Anyway, these are what I used to brew in. These are pretty much redundant these days. I very rarely use them. I just needed this one to do the big batch of Mead en masse. But I do need another bucket of the same volume to be able to transfer it from it, to leave behind any yeast particles that are going to be in the bottom of this brew. So with that in mind, please make sure that if you're doing a big batch that you have a separate vessel of the same quantity, because otherwise what you might struggle to do is remove it from that layer of yeast that's at the bottom there, which we don't really want. I mean, mine's sat at about ½ a litre, that layer of yeast, which isn't that bad at all. We should really get like quite a good yield out of this. We shouldn't lose a great deal at all. And if there is a small bit of yeast in there at the end, that is not a problem. So what I need to do first is, with this, I need to take out 1 gallon batch. I'm not going to measure it. I'm not going to put it through the measuring doofer. What I am going to do though is I'm going to eyeball it. And the reason that I've got to take one out is because I'm back sweetening one of them. Everything's falling over today. One of them with some Hilltop hot honey. So it's chili honey basically. I've tasted it. It is very, very nice. I'm hoping it gives it a nice sweetness, and I hope it kind of like mellows out slightly. It's not too hot, but I think it needs to be a bit more drinkable in a beverage, if you know what I'm saying. So we're going to turn the cap on, and we're just going to allow this to fill up through the bottle wand. And why is that cloudy? Might have been a bit of gunk on the top of it actually, to be honest. That could be a possibility. So yeah, you can't actually see what I'm doing, but I'm just filling up this demijohn using the bottle wand. We have to do this one separately because, let's just remove the vacuum. So, got to do this one separately because we don't want to back sweeten it with the other honey as well, and then it'll be too sweet. So I'll be back in a minute when this is done. Okay, so we've pulled that one off, and I realised after I'd pulled it off that I needed to add stoppers to it. So I should have done it all at once, but it's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. I think what I will do is do all the stoppers at once in one big batch. So I've pulled it off. As you can see, it's in there. A bit cloudier than it looked earlier on, but I reckon it's just taking a bit of the lees off the bottom from coming out of the tap. Not a problem. We kind of expected something like that to happen. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be transferring what's left of this into the said big bucket via this tube, which should make things rather quick if I can get this back on. It was a bit of a pain in the backside to get underneath originally. There we are. Just like that. I'm going to put this under here. Make sure that the tap is off on the other vessel. Yep, that says off. So there's the Camden tablets, which we're going to need. Just winging it. So this is going to be 1 teaspoon. Well, sorry, ½ a teaspoon per gallon. So what's left in there is probably around 4 gallons. So we're going to do for ½ a teaspoon. The reason why we're putting this in before is because it will mix as we rack it off. That's 2, 3, 4, and 1 for good luck, just in case there's any extra. There shouldn't be, but just in case. Right, now for the Camden tablets. They can go back in there. pestle and mortar. Bits that are in there. And same again, calculate how many you need. And while I'm talking, I shall tell you what we are going to be flavouring these with. You know that we're going to be flavouring it with one of them with the honey there, the chili honey. We need 4 of these because 4 gallons. We're going to be using some coffee pods that I bought and they were the wrong flipping type. So yeah, I've got 3 of these to use, 2 different ones, 2 decaf and 1 Ethiopian coffee pods. So there's 30 of them, which I'm not quite sure how much coffee is going to be in each one of them. So let's have a quick look. I mean, it still smells good, but yeah, we're looking at quite a small amount of coffee. Probably weigh one out, and then we know what it weighs. I'm going to say 5 grams per cap. We'll figure out how much we've got in total eventually when it comes around to doing that one. But for now, we're going to crush these down and get them into this mead. So potassium sorbate and Campden tablets will stop any further fermentations from the honey that we're going to add, which the main part of it will be back sweetened with just normal Hilltop blossom honey, which is what I ferment with. It's cheap and it tastes good. You can ferment with expensive honey or more expensive honey, which however you want to say it, but I don't think you actually gain a great deal from it. What I would recommend is using cheap honey to ferment with, because all you want is the sugars really, and then using a more expensive honey or more premium honey, whatever you want to call it, for back sweetening, so that you retain all of that flavour. You're not going to be losing anything. So now let us continue with what we are putting in it. So one's coffee, got some saffron, just from supermarket, just some saffron, sound as oat. The other one is going to be a mixture of ingredients that I had left from previous brews. Now, whether they're any good, I don't know, but I am willing to risk not wasting them. So I've got some papaya, I've got some mango, and I've got some coconut. Now, I've got a hell of a lot of papaya. So what I might end up doing is just adding the same amount that they've got of coconut and just going from there in that way. Because I don't want to add too much of one and then not see the flavours of other. So we'll weigh out what we've got of coconut and we'll match it with the papaya. Now I do have some oak chips, and I thought about throwing some oak chips in. Not sure about that. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see what happens when we get to it. And the final one is going to be this Earl Grey tea mix, which is called Rainbow Tea, or Earl Grey Rainbow. It is a blend of Earl Grey bergamot with the addition of cornflower, sunflower petals, saffron and rose petals in an Earl Grey tea. It is absolutely lovely. I brew beer with this, and that's because of a brewery called Shiny Brewing. Check them out. They make amazing beers. They ship all the way around the UK. I'm not sure about international shipping, you'd have to ask them. But yeah, so the tap is off and we're going to get this racked off into there. And for this bit, I shall speed it up. Now this would be a lot more simple if I was doing it all the same flavour, but I like a variety of different flavours, so you know, I don't want to be drinking 23 litres of the same flavoured mead for, well, I normally have one bottle a weekend, so that's a lot of weekends. So I was mixing it as it was going in, just gently stirring. We're not causing any major oxygen additions. I did add some water that was from the tap that I'd used to rinse out the containers with, and a bit of hot water in there as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give that honey a good mix in, make sure it gets evenly distributed, because we don't want some that are sweeter than others. We want them to all be around the same sweetness. Ideally, I want them to be all around 20, but you know, it just doesn't work out like that sometimes. So very gently, we're going to mix this. You don't need a power tool to do it. I just find it a lot easier. Because honey can take ages to mix in. Again, remember, we're not adding oxygen to this at the moment. That's what we do not want to do. Oxygen is bad at this point. What we do want to do is mix in them stoppers so the fermentation ceases, and it won't then ferment the honey that we've just put in. There's a chance it might ferment a small amount of it before it actually gets started, but a good mix in should make sure that we get what we're expecting. So I'll make sure I don't hit the tap that's on the end of this, otherwise we're in trouble, because there would be gallons and gallons and gallons of stuff leaking out. So let's have a quick test to see if there's any honey on the bottom. Yep, there's tons, so we're just gonna speed this bit up, or I might even cut it out. So if it's not there, it's because I cut it out, and if it is there, it's sped up. Okie dokie, artichoke. So what we've got now is about 19.5 gallons, obviously because we've added the honey that does gain volume. So all of this is 13.2%, which is nice. So what we need to do now is rack this off into separate demijohns and add the flavours that we're going to be flavouring it with. So I've got another 4 demijohns over here, and you know what, I nearly didn't have enough airlocks. I was searching for airlocks. I was like, come on, I just need one more, and I found it, but it ended up to be not one of them that you normally use with the demijohns like this, but that doesn't matter. So we're going to attach this to this, and we're going to plop that in there. We're going to see if we can prime it in here. Yeah, prime it. Get some liquid flowing through it. I could just use the tap again, but I found it a bit more difficult to fill one with the tap than it was to actually just siphon it off. We've got no gunk coming through this, so it is pretty clear. I'm not sure if you saw the test that I did. I'll show you it coming through. I can't show you it actually because it needs gravity. But we're going to fill these up, and we'll go from there. Let's see if we can get a video of it being filled up, because that'd be good. I ended up spilling loads of mead everywhere and I had a bit of a tantrum, so I'm not going to add that into the video because I can make up swear words on the spot when I'm in a huff. So it was rather profane, is that a word? there was lots of profanity is what I'm getting at. It's probably taken me about 2 hours to get to this point. Everything just seems to take longer than you expect it to. So now we're going to be topping up these because there is still some left in here. I did put the lid back on just so that no bloody fruit flies can get in, because I tell you they are the bane of my life. So anyway, we're going to get this into here now, and the last bit we're going to be doing is we're just going to be putting it in like this. You shouldn't probably do this. I wouldn't recommend it because obviously it's causing bubbles, but at this point I just want to get it done. To be honest, that's where I'm at. So we're going to fill that up to where it's about safe, and then reapply the airlock and chuck it out of the way. And we'll do the same with the next one. These are the ones that I've already had the stoppers put in. So, ideally what I should have done is add the stoppers to the other one as well, but I wanted to add the honey at the same time. So, yeah, kind of made sense to do it the way that I did it, by separating the one that's going to have the spicy honey in, which I haven't used in brews before. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I'll be sure to let them know if they care. You know, probably got a glass full there. It's going to have to be wasted because I've got nothing to put it in. But that is all of them racked off into separate things. It was a bit more of a faff than I expected it to be. I probably wouldn't brew this way again. Unless I was doing a big batch of one singular flavour, then I would do it in a big bucket, but then it would go back in the bucket to be bottled. Okay, so we're going to start adding the flavours now. I say flavours, but I mean other ingredients that are going to flavour it. We're going to need a funnel for some of these. Some will just get washed in, sound as out. So we're going to have 150 grams of coffee going into one of these. It's already ground, it's ground a little bit fine, but like I say, it's just to get them used up, out of my way. I'm sick of seeing them, I can't use them. I've asked people and they don't have it, and obviously I've paid for it, so you know, I'm just not going to waste it. So I'm going to speed this up while I take all this coffee out of these packets, and we'll be back momentarily. Okay, 150 is not happening. We have put in one pack of it, and it already looks like it's too much. So we'll be leaving it at one of the packs, which I believe is 50 grams. And we'll be leaving it at that. I'm going to have to find another way of using the other ones up. Maybe in a beer or something I might get away with. But we're going to move on to the next one, which is going to be, I don't need to label the coffee one because I know it's coffee because I can clearly see it's coffee. But we're going to take this one off now, and we're going to add the saffron. Now, I've never tasted saffron. I don't know what saffron tastes like. I've had a little smell of saffron, and I mean, for what it costs, it's quite expensive. That is only a very, very, very small bag of saffron. I'm going to start with one of these packets, and then we will taste it in 2 weeks' time, and we'll see what's popping off, because I don't want to make it too expensive if it's unnecessary. If it's got a highly potent flavour, there will be no need to add the other one, which it can be used for something else. But yeah, in goes the saffron. I think it was about £4. I will double check, and I will put a caption as to let you know how much it exactly was. So that is 0.5 grams of saffron. I'm thinking about this, what I should have done the coffee one last, knowing that it was going to make a load of flipping mess. But right, so we're going to mix the saffron in now, just get it going in. It should eventually moisten and sink and start releasing some saffrony flavours. So we're going to just do this little trick, just flip it upside down very carefully with your hand on it, and there you go, the saffron is in. Take a little picture. Looks very weird, but there we go, that's the saffron one done. So that can come down here, out of my way. Next, we have the one that is going to have all the fruits in. So we're going to go for all of the mango, so we need to weigh the mango. Just tell you what amount is in there. Does that make sense? When building random recipes, it's all about knowledge and knowing. So these are very old, still smells alright. Let's taste it actually, it's probably taste test, is probably going to be best. Very tough. Still tastes fine. 38 grams, if it had had that in, it would have been 40. I'm going to make a note of this, because this is the one that's going to have more than one thing in. And we're just going to bung that in, like so. No fanging around, no need to chop it up, it's already chopped, dropped a bit. And I can see already the water level on this is rising. So I'm just going to do mango and coconut, and I think I'll match no, I'm not going to do 40 grams of coconut, I'll do 20. Go on in, coconut. I haven't used coconut in a mead before. I did a pina colada mead, fortified it with rum. Right, so the mango's gone to the bottom. Let me just dip this in the sanitizer liquid. I don't really want to mess about with contamination. Now, this one's mango and coconut. What's going to be mango, coconut and papaya, but there's not enough headroom. Well, let's actually have a look. Let's have a look, see if we can get a bit of papaya in there. Because I really did want it. It's quite heavy, is papaya. See, to me, that don't look too good. I don't look good at all. No. It tastes okay, but I'm just not willing to risk knackering up a brew for the sake of using it. That's going to get thrown away, even though I'm still eating it. So I've still got some coconut to use up and some papaya, although I might not use the papaya, as I say, it may get thrown, it may not. So that's the mango and coconut. Didn't bother adding the oak chips, didn't think it'd need it. It wasn't necessary. Next one is the rainbow tea. which could be a pain in the backside to fill. We're not going to use a lot of this, as it's very, very light. Oh, it just smells divine. I don't know if you can see in there properly. It's got all sorts of bits and bobs in there. It's actually got saffron in, I did mention. So that's 3 grams. We're going to go for 5 grams, I think. No, we'll go for 10. We'll go for 10 grams because we want it to have that lovely kick. There we are, 10 grams. I've never actually tasted this tea as a cup of tea. I do need to try it, I think. It is very nice. Very, very nice. In brews, beer. Let's try and get it all in there. Oh, don't go over the edge. You didn't see that, all right. So that's 10 grams of the rainbow tea in there. Let's go rinse the dipstick. This is taking a lot longer than I expected it to. It is a bit of a drawn out way of doing things, but you know, to get the results you want, it's worth it, I suppose, if we get the results we want. If not, then it wasn't worth it. Quick spin upside down to get it off the top of the lip there, or at least most of it off. Quick picture, and we're going to add the rest of the ingredients to the list of the coconut one. Mango, and then it was 20 grams of coconut. Okay, lid on, or airlock on, and then that can go on there with them. And now on to the final one, thank God, which is the Hilltop spicy honey, which we're going to have to mix in to a lukewarm liquid, which is a bit of a pain in the backside. Now I say, I did try this and it was nice. So let's see what it can do in here. Deliberately left this one with more headspace because I knew that this honey was going to add quite a lot of volume to the liquid. And then we're going to add the stoppers to this as well because we haven't done that yet. That's the talk, not me. Honest. I'm so immature, can't help it. Right, that's about as much as we're going to get out of that. That was approximately, minus the residue, let's say 330 out of a 340 gram pot, maybe. I'm going to use the rest on some toast because I think that would be nice. Let's go rinse this one more time. Okie dokie, and now we're going to no, we're not. No. Not yet, son, not yet. You peaked too early, lad. Get the fermentation stoppers. That is what we are requiring at this moment in time. So, we're going to need 1 Camden tablet and half a teaspoon of potassium sorbate. Per gallon. Mash it up, mash it up. Now you don't have to use these preservatives, it's just that I always have, so I always do, if that makes sense. I started off using them, but you don't have to. Half of a teaspoon. Floor's all sticky because of the flipping mead I spilled everywhere. And now we're going to mix in that chili honey as well as the stoppers, and we're going to hope that it doesn't ferment the honey that we've added. Same with the others. There may be a bit of activity for a day or so, but eventually it will stop and it will eventually cease fermenting. If it doesn't, I'll add some more stoppers. That's how we roll. So mixing honey takes quite a long time, so I'm not going to bore you with it, but what I will say is, once you have finished, or you think you've finished stirring your honey in, stir a little bit more. I will be taking a hydrometer reading of this one specifically. I know what the other ones are because obviously, or I know what they were. They were 0.998. And this one will be different once this honey's been put in, and they were sweetened to 1.020, so the 20 mark, which is what I was telling you about, which is where I normally have it. And I'm not sure what this one will be sweetened to because I don't know what the sugar content of this type of honey is. If it's the same as the others, it will be the same, but without looking properly, I don't know. So I am going to say tatty buys, and we shall be back for another video on these meads in about 2 weeks, and we'll rack them off, we'll taste them, we'll give them a nice bottling and see what we have created. Who knows? And until then, take it easy, and I'll see you all soon.